Ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, my name is Raven and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be reviewing Absolver. So the way this video is going to work, I'm going to break it down into the pros and the cons. And then at the end, I'm going to let you guys know whether I think this thing is worth your money or not. But before we get into that, I'm going to give you guys a quick introduction of the game for those of you who have no idea what this game actually is. Absolver is a martial arts focused action role-playing video game developed by Slowclap and published by Devolver Digital for the PlayStation 4 and Windows. In the game, players control warrior characters who fight other players and computer-controlled characters across the fictional land of Adal to prove themselves and eventually become an Absolver. The game's story is focused on the human development of the characters as they fight to find their place in the collapsed empire. Players of the game are able to customize their movesets via a combat deck, which they learn from fighting other enemies. Players are also able to earn cards, equipment, and weapons by progressing through the game. So with every fighting game, we're going to be kicking it off with the very first pro, and that is the combat. And I can tell you all right now, the combat in this game is goddamn amazing. Once you actually start to get a grasp of how the combat works, so far nothing else I've played kind of compares to this thing. The combat feels extremely smooth, it flows amazingly. You have the ability to dodge, you have the ability to feint, and depending on what class you pick, you have 3 different moves. You can either absorb attacks, you can either parry attacks, or you can do like a special sort of dodge. And due to the fact that there are so many different moves in this game, and you're able to build your own decks, the combat has an extremely large amount of depth to it. Being able to build your own decks and just weave in whichever attack you want from whichever stance you want, allows you to have an extremely large amount of mix-ups that you're capable of doing. The combat system has 4 different directions that you can attack from, and you are able to set up your own moves in those directions. So you can have an entire direction just based around kicking, you can have an entire direction based around elbows, you can have one based around just punching, or you can just mix and match them. And on top of all that, and probably one of the most important things, the combat actually feels fun. The combat takes a lot of skill and it requires a lot of focus and dedication. You need to build your own deck and you need to master it, but once you do, it truly feels amazing to use. And one last thing to note on the combat side, when you're watching it and you haven't played the game yet, the combat does tend to look really chaotic. Once you get into the game and you actually get to play through with the combat system yourself, it all starts to click into place after a while. And once it does finally click into place, that's when the fun really begins when it comes to the combat system in this game. And next pro is the fact that you have the ability to customize your own decks. On top of being able to just put moves wherever you want, in whichever direction you want, you have the ability to learn moves from other players that you are versing, whether it be an AI or whether it be an actual person. By blocking moves and dodging moves and then killing the person after you've blocked and dodged a certain amount of moves, you gain all the experience for that move. Once you fill up the bar, you unlock that move. And once you unlock a move, you're able to go into your deck and customize it however you want. That brand new move that you just unlocked, say it's a spinning back elbow, you can now use that and you can put that in any direction you want. And you do have full freedom with how you build this thing. You can either build it so your entire deck is based around really slow movements that hit like a truck, or you can build your deck that's all about really fast punches and kicks to basically interrupt people and just smash them before they get a chance to do anything. You can build the deck solely around kicking, you can build it solely around punching, elbows, whatever you want. You can go so your entire deck is about kicking really high or doing high punches, or you can do it so it's about low punches and kick, or you can have a combination. And there are a shit ton of moves you can choose from. I found myself just going out into the world, finding an enemy that was doing moves I've never seen before, and just sitting there for like 15-20 minutes just blocking and learning those moves. And then as soon as I learned those moves, I was straight into the deck builder. I was practicing with them, trying to find out the best deck possible and trying to tweak it to how I like it. And that is one thing I cannot stress enough. It is the freedom of building your own deck. As long as you go out into the world and find those moves, you can use them however you like. Alright guys, next pro is going to be the stylized graphics. Now when it comes to stylized graphics, I am very picky with the type that I like. When I very first saw Absolver's graphics, I thought they were a little bit meh, I wasn't that into them. But once I actually got into the game and once I started playing in this game, it works so goddamn well. The backdrops in this game are absolutely insane. You can walk up to a cliff and just see a vast city that you can't go to yet, which is a little bit shit, but at the same time it doesn't matter because it just gives you this feeling that this is a massive fucking world. There are ruins everywhere, there are graveyards, and it all just flows. You can go from a completely dark area to a completely light area with the sun coming through the trees. Next thing you know, you'll be fighting in a harbor, then the Colosseum. It's crazy. And throughout the whole thing, the stylized graphics really does work. It really does to help it when you're going from zone to zone. It blends so goddamn well. And the game really does look beautiful at times. So when it comes to the graphics, in the end, I thought it was going to be a minus for me, but it ended up being a plus. Once you're in the game and you're walking around in this world, it really does look nice. Next up is the world itself, and we're going to be talking about the fact that when you're out in the world, you actually have the ability to team up with people, or you can play the whole thing solo. You can choose to help people when they're fighting enemies, or you can choose to just walk up and kill them yourself. You are able to play this game 100% solo, and it's no problem whatsoever. Other people will be dropping in and out. It gives you a little notification saying, you know, someone else has entered the game, and you'll see them run around, okay? They'll run past you, and there are a fair few people running around. I will give them that. There was at one point where I had about 30 people running around this one area. They're all fighting mobs. It was pretty chaotic. And throughout my time playing the campaign, I did get several people invite me to a group. I joined up with them, and I even had some guy try and backstab me. He invited me to a group. We fought this boss. We killed the boss, and then he tried to kill me when I was on low health. Luckily, I managed to kill him, and then you can pick people up if you want afterwards. I revived him. He tried to fight me again. I killed him again, and then I didn't revive him because you have that choice. And that's one thing I love about this game. It's the amount of choice they give you throughout everything. And at the same time, you have the ability to play with your friends. And if you do have people to play with, I do highly suggest playing with your friends because it is super fun just ganging up on these poor AI and just, you know, kicking them into a hole or just, you know, kicking them back and forth and stuff. The game does have some really crazy moments, and it can get overwhelming sometimes playing by yourself with the amount of AI that they throw at you. And the AI are not pushovers either, so sometimes having that backup does help. And next up, we're going to be talking about the fact that they've managed to merge, flawlessly I might add, a fighting game with RPG elements. So on the base of it, you have this really damn intense combat system, and you have the ability to build your own decks. And then on top of that, you have attribute points, okay? You can just pump points into strength, you can pump it into dexterity, you can just pump all your points into health if you want. When I played, I chose to go full strength and full health. So I was really tanky and I hit like a bus. And on top of that, you have different gear that you can get out in the world. Killing mobs, sometimes they'll drop a piece of gear, they might drop a chest piece, shoulder pads. It's sort of like World of Warcraft. And all that gear that drops will have different stats, and it even has different lore to it. And the types of gear you wear actually make a difference to how your character plays. The lighter you are and the more mobility you have, the more damage you do. But at the same time, you're a lot weaker to certain attacks like cutting and blunt attack. But of course, the more armored up you are, the more resistance you have to blunt and cut attacks, the less damage you do because you're not as mobile. So once again, the game gives you that element of choice, okay? You have to choose what stats you want to focus on. You have to choose what gear you want to focus on. Do you want to do more damage? Do you want to be more mobile? Do you want to be more tanky? It's all up to you. Now, the game also has a shard system. Now, when you get certain shards from fighting enemies and blocking hits and so on and so forth, you will get shards. Once you reach a certain amount of shards, you have powers you can use as well. One of the powers is a heal, that you heal yourself, and every time you land a successful hit, you heal yourself for more. But if someone hits you while you're healing, it cancels the effect. And throughout the story mission, you will unlock more abilities. You can do a gravity one that will stun your opponent for a second. You can give yourself a shield. You can drain your opponent's stamina, or you can drain your opponent's shard regeneration rate. And on top of all that, you have the ability, once you reach 3 shards, to use your weapon. Every person has a weapon. Once you defeat one of the bosses, you will get these spiked gloves that you can sort of box on with people, and they do a bit more damage. Later on, you'll be able to get a sword, and then you'll be able to get another sword. And once you do use one of your weapons, they have their own system of how they work depending on the moves you've picked. So once again, a whole bunch more choice, a whole bunch more customization, and it's all up to you. I give them high praise when it comes to this because it is flawlessly done. The next one is the storyline. Now, the storyline, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate this thing. But I can tell you right now, it is 100% unique, and I love the storyline. It honestly feels like Dark Souls, okay? You are dropped into this world, you get hit with this cutscene, and you have no idea what's going on. There's not much dialogue whatsoever. And then before you know it, you're just dropped into this world, and they just go for it, explore. Every time you encounter a boss, they actually have dialogue that they talk to you about, and when you re-encounter bosses after you've already fought them, they have additional dialogue and they remember facing you, which I thought was really damn cool. Overall, the storyline, it doesn't just openly come out and tell you every single thing about it, but at the same time, it gives you enough that you were intrigued and want to know more, but it doesn't spoil anything for you. After I finished the storyline, the one thing that stuck with me was the fact that I wanted to know more. I was extremely intrigued on what this world had to offer, and I really do hope that they continue with the storyline past the initial launch of the game and put more of it in, because it was extremely interesting. And one last thing on the storyline, I also loved how all the bosses had their own unique backstories to them. That was a really nice touch. And the last of the pros is the fact that the game does not hold your hand one bit. Like I said, after the first cutscene, you were dropped into the world, you get this short tutorial, and then once you get out into the actual world, you are greeted by a man. He says, here is a map, okay? See these little dots? There's a bunch of yellow dots, a couple of red dots. Those guys are the tainted guys, okay? And I want you to go beat them and kill them so that way you can get to the top of this tower. And then he goes, good luck, and off you go. There is no map in the game unless you visit those little bonfires. In that case, it just shows you how many of those guys you've killed. There is no map you can pull up. There are no waypoints saying go over here, go over there. There's no one saying, hey, if you go down that way, you might find one of the tainted guys. Not one thing at all. They literally just drop you into this world and go explore. You know what you have to do. Find these guys, kill them. You are now running around and you're just searching for these guys. You have no idea where they are. And to be honest, I stumbled across about 4 of these bosses by accident, okay? I had no idea where they were. A couple of them I sort of went, okay, I think that he might be in this direction. You know, there was a bit of a build up. Half the time though, I was just running. I'd walk into the Colosseum, let's say, there's a shiny thing. I click it and all of a sudden I'm versing a boss. I'm like, holy shit. Another time I was literally running, okay, I was fighting a guy, turn around and one of the bosses is there. And that is one thing I have to praise to high heaven. Nowadays, games, they just hold your hand so goddamn much. And because they hold your hand so much, it takes a lot of the challenge out of the game. Yes, it is convenient being told, hey, you need to go kill this guy, and now an arrow pops up and directs you directly to the guy and then directly back. That is convenient, but at the same time, it does kill the sense of exploration in the game. And one thing this game does well is it makes you feel alone, okay? When you jump in, you feel alone, you are lost, you have no idea what's going on, you're just trying to get through it and work it out. Now, some people might hate that, but for me, I love that, and it just made the world more interesting. I was so keen to jump into this world and just figure it out, find these bosses, kill them, work out what the hell's going on. And the last time I felt something like that was when I played Dark Souls. There is just something about being dropped into this world, given minimal information, and just being told, go for it. That just really appeals to me. You are not on rails here, okay? You can just do whatever you want, whenever you want, build everything however you want, and that is one thing Absolver does fucking amazingly. So those are the pros. Now we're going to be moving on to the cons. Now the first one we're going to talk about is pretty much a deal breaker for anyone outside of Europe and America. Now I'm from Australia, and the developers said that there were going to be Australian servers, okay, oceanic servers at launch. Turns out there weren't oceanic servers. Now, when I first jumped in, I would run around and there would be massive lag spikes where I would be flying all around the screen, okay? I would be attacking AI and my fists would be going through their face, not doing any damage, and then they'd kick the shit out of me and I'd teleport all around the place. I thought this was because it's an indie developer, you know, they didn't expect so many people to be playing the game, the servers are crashing, so on and so forth. It did clear up, but there were times where I couldn't play the game for about 30 minutes at a time simply because it was lagging too much and I couldn't do anything without getting my head kicked in. And then we got to the unfortunate part where I finally finished the campaign and I tried to play some PvP. And the reality hit me. The game is 100% unplayable when it comes to PvP if you are outside of Europe and America or somewhere where they don't have servers in your area yet. Now, I know some people are going to be skeptical, so I'm going to show you guys some footage of what it was like trying to PvP. It was pretty damn bad. Okay, so here's the clip, guys. So as you can see, I'm punching the guy and my attacks are going right through him. Nothing's happening. All of a sudden, I start teleporting all over the place. He's kicking me. I can't dodge. I can't do anything. All I get to do is sit there and die. Now, the developers have said that they will be putting servers into all the different countries around the world. And they did apologize for being very slow in implementing these servers at launch. But the good news is that they are actually quick with implementing these servers. It only took them a couple of days, I think it was like 3 to 4 days, and they did implement oceanic servers. And I jumped onto the game, I tested it out, and they do work. I was able to play a bunch of 1v1 matches, no problem, no lag, it's all good for me now in Australia. So if you're from Australia, feel free to buy the game because it's 100% worth it now because of the fact that there are servers in the game. But this is the part that does kill me to say. If you are living in a country where they don't have servers right now, do not buy the game, okay? It is not worth ruining your experience of this amazing game because you're just lagging all over the place. Keep an eye on the forums, wait for them to get servers in your area or your country, and then once those are in, I 100% recommend this game. But I have to be honest with you guys, and like I said, if they don't have servers where you're living, do not get the game. It is not worth it. So that is one unfortunate thing I have to say about that first con. Now moving on to the second con, and that is the fact that the game has a really steep learning curve and the game is hard to play. Now this is one that most people don't like to hear, but the fact is that the game requires a lot of skill to do well in. And due to the fact that the game does have a very high skill cap in order to do well with, it has a really hard learning curve. It takes a while and you will get your ass kicked a lot. Now if you're the type of person like me who is fine with that, you're fine with a challenge, you get your ass kicked, you get back up and go, fuck that guy, I gotta win. Then you will be fine and you'll have no problem with the fact that it has a steep learning curve. But I know for a fact some people out there don't like games with a really steep learning curve because they might not have enough time to play the game normally, and whenever they jump on, they want to have fun. They don't want to sit there getting their ass handed to them just so they can, get good at the game. Some people have commitments and they want to be able to just jump into a game, be able to do decently to okay, and have fun with it. And there is nothing wrong with that. But keep in mind the game does have a very steep learning curve and it takes a lot of skill to be good at the game. So if you are looking for a game you can just jump into and just play and have fun with and not put that much time into getting good with it, probably not going to be the game for you. And moving on to the next con. Now I put this as a pro for me, okay, but for some people this will be a con. And that is the fact that the game doesn't hold your hand, okay? Like I said in the pro video, it has no map. You have a lack of direction. No one's telling you where to go, and I know some people will hate that. Some people like when a game tells them, hey, here's a marker, go this way, or they give you a general direction even. Or you have a map that you can pull up and sort of get a sense of where you are. This game, like I said, has none of that, okay? There's no map, there's no direction. You just get this slight little thing saying, hey, go kill these guys, and off you go. The rest is up to you, and that will be a con for some people. Just like it will be a pro for others. So if you hate games like Dark Souls who just drop you in the water and go deal with it, then you're probably not going to enjoy this game. The next con is going to be the storyline is actually very short. Now it varies from person to person, obviously based on your skill level. Some people have said that it's taken them 20 hours to complete the story, others 12 hours. The average seems to be about 8 hours. I managed to complete it in 4 hours. That's probably because I got lucky in finding certain bosses. Like I said, I was walking and I just happened to stumble on a few bosses, which is probably the reason that my campaign was so short, but from what I can tell, the average seems to be about 8 hours. Now, the game is mainly focused on PvP, but they did hype their PvE up a lot and their storyline and everything. So keep in mind it is an indie game. It only costs $30, so they do have a little bit of leeway, but I would have liked the story to be a bit longer than, 4 hours or 8 hours or even 12 hours. If it was 20 hours like some people had, oh, fully fine. That's completely fine for me considering it's indie dev, but just from my experience, the 4 to 8 hours is a bit short. I would have liked it to be a bit longer. But at the same time, that is a testament to how fun the goddamn campaign was because I want it to be longer. But nonetheless, for me, that is a con. The next con is the customization of your characters. Now keep in mind, we're talking about the character selection screen, we're not talking about in the game. When you get into the game, there are a shit ton of customizables in terms of the gear you can wear, like I said, the attribute points, all that sort of stuff. It's amazing in that regard. But when it comes to the actual customization screen, now that is a different story. You get to pick a few different skin colors, okay, depending on where your guy is from. It's very limited. You get to pick a few hairstyles, you get to pick whether you're male or female, but that is about it. Now, I was not expecting a whole bunch of crazy sliders or Black Desert Online or anything like that, but I was expecting a lot more hairstyles and hair colors. It was just very limited in what you could choose, and hopefully it's something they can improve in the future and maybe add some more of that stuff in. But right now, from the base game and what we're getting, the customization at the start is very, very limited, so keep that in mind. Now moving on to the next con, and this will affect some people, but it won't affect others, but it is still a con, and that is the fact that the game is region locked. So I've seen a lot of people complaining about this because they have friends in different countries and stuff that they want to play with, and they can't because it's region locked. So the fact that the game is region locked will affect some people, but it won't affect others. But nonetheless, that is a con because I have seen a lot of people complaining about the fact that the game is region locked. And the last con is the fact that the combat system excels at fighting people 1v1, okay? Fighting people 1v1 is the bread and butter of this game because the whole combat system is fixed around that scenario. Now, throughout the game, sometimes you'll be versing 1 or 2 enemies, 3 enemies at a time. There was one point where I had to face 5 enemies and I just had to run because fighting like more than 3 enemies becomes near impossible to win. And that is a bit of an issue issue, okay? When you're versing 2 enemies, it's hard. 3 enemies is extremely hard. Anything more than that, and you may as well just put down your controller because you're just getting kicked all over the place and they tend to fuck you up pretty hard. The AI in this game is no joke, and due to the fact that the combat system excels at 1v1 combat, and now all of a sudden you have to take the fact that the AI is not a joke and that you're versing like 2 or 3 to 4 people, sometimes even 5, and the overall experience from that is very, very frustrating. And just quickly, one minor gripe, which is sort of a con, but I get why it's in the game, is ledges. I absolutely hate ledges in fighting games, okay? I fucking hate it in For Honor, and I hate it in this game, especially when you're versing multiple AI and they like, you know, they surround you and you can't get away and they kick you off a ledge. It fucking sucks. Luckily though, in the PvP, the majority of the maps don't have any ledges, which is fucking amazing. So my final thoughts on Absolver, and do I think it's worth your money? If you're in Europe or America or anywhere else where they have servers for this game, I 100% recommend this game to you. It is only $30 and it is well worth it. When you're able to play this game properly and you're not lagging all over the place, it is a true gem and well worth every penny. You have a whole bunch of PvE to play through, you have a cool storyline, and then you have a shit ton of PvP to go through. And then you can spend the rest of your time crafting your deck and fine-tuning it in the PvP. But if you are living somewhere where they do not have servers for this game, 100% do not buy it. It's not worth the money. At least not right now. Wait for them to get servers wherever you are, and then once they get servers, then 100% buy the game because it is worth it. But the fact of the matter is, and I'm not going to lie to people on this, the fact of the matter is that right now with the lag in the game because there's no servers, PvP is 100% unplayable. There is some lag in PvE, and once you finish playing the PvE, you really want to dive into the PvP, and that's where the meat of the game is. And due to the fact if there's no servers where you're living, there is so much lag, the PvP is unplayable. Once you finish the campaign, that's it. The game is done for you because you can't do anything else. And seeing as the campaign is only 4 to 8 hours long, 12 hours if you get lucky, the $30 price tag is not worth that. So if you're living somewhere where they have servers, 100% I recommend this game. And if you're living somewhere where they do not have servers, do not buy the game and wait for them to get servers. But that is all I have for this video. And I really do hope that this review has helped you guys in deciding whether you want to pick up this game or not. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and let me know your thoughts. If you've had a chance to play Absolver, please let me know what you think. And if you haven't and you're looking to get into it, let me know what you thought of the review. And please share this video around, it helps me out a fuck ton. And if you want to see more videos from me, please hit the subscribe button. I shall see you all in the next video. Have a good one, guys.